Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video. I'm Sacred Sage and we're going to be talking about Deforce. Deforce is a very powerful tool. You can get those drapes that you want and need from the clothing on your models and anything else that you want. And it's pretty easy to apply once you know what you're doing, which I'll explain in this video. Before that, hit that like button, hit the subscribe notification bell so you can see future videos. But with that being said, let's get into it. So I have this model set up right here from one of my VNs, right? And as you can tell, this clothing, look at the arms. The arms is just, woo, they way out there. It doesn't look natural at all. They're just like sprawled out there like someone going to bed. How do we fix that? We use Deforce. So it's the simulation tab where it says simulation settings. It should be right here on the side. If it's not, you can always click on window, panes, and then Deforce will be somewhere around here. Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Scene, simulation, right here. Simulation settings. Bam. All right. So going through some of these options. So gravity, what it dictates is how much pull on the clothes downward, right? Think of it like stretching. So, I normally keep this about what it is. I might tweak it a little bit. Air resistance is basically like a little bit of wind blow to make it look like it's flowing naturally while it's falling. I normally keep that around the same too. I never mess with this iteration time. It's something I haven't dabbled with yet. I'm just going through the basics right now. There's so much to learn. There really is. But I do mess with the start bone for memorization pose quite frequently, depending on what I am actually trying to deforce. And I'll get into that in a moment. Pose time, just how long it takes, makes it, I guess, quality. And then the rest of these I don't mess with at all either. Sometimes the collision mesh resolution, depending on how it looks afterwards. I might clear it out and do it again with a little bit of, with changing that. Anyways, so let's take our model here. And the first thing we want to do before we do any Deforce is hide everything you can. So we are going to hide the house. We are going to, actually that shirt can stay. I'm going to take my model and I'm hiding the hair. We don't want any collision because then we will witness an explosion. If you don't know what an explosion is, give it time. You'll run across it. It is a pain and it takes a lot of time. All right, so I went ahead and cleared it for no reason. Let's simulate it and see what happens. So this is from the bone structure. So basically it's taken from the bone of the T-pose in the original position and it's moving to the position that I had her in before we actually hit the simulate button. And it takes those, calculates the movement to come up with the form that the dress is going to do. You can already see a big difference in how the dress is looking. Now it is stabilizing, basically meaning using all that gravity and wind to make it look as natural as possible. Granted, it still doesn't look perfect, but it looks a lot better. Like, I don't like the fact that this is draping over a little bit and this coming upwards. I feel like it should be downward more, but for the most part, it looks better. The arms are actually down now and it just, it looks better than it was. And that's just something you got to play around with, test, tweak, and that kind of stuff. From that point, I'll probably be messing with the wind and maybe gravity a little bit to try and get the arm down. But besides that, that's pretty much the gist of doing it from bone structure. Now, I do the bone structure for the model how I just did when I'm doing poses. So, like I just did, a random pose, I do the bone structure. Now, let's take this model and let's take her out. Let's say I'm trying to get this thing to deforce. I won't use bone structure. I will actually, where's it at? I'll just end up taking that completely off. So like, boop, simulation off. And I'll just take it off of bone structure. Now, this ain't going to work when we try to run it. See, if we try to run, it's going to say no object to simulate because this object is not deforced. There's no Deforce to it. So what we're going to have to do is add Deforce to it. So let's select it. We'll go to Edit, Objects, Geometry, add Deforce Modifier Dynamic Surface. And that basically gives us the ability to deforce it. It gives us a bunch more settings. So if we go over here to the Surfaces panel and we go down, now we have all these extra options that we didn't have previously. I think it starts right here at friction. So friction down is what it added. But if we try to simulate, you'll see what happens. Poof. It just falls straight down. We'll wait for it to stop simulating. And I'll show you another trick. Oh man, it's going to fall right through the earth, isn't it? It sure did. There it is. Way down below the earth because it had nothing to actually hit. But that looks a lot better than it just hanging there. So let's go ahead and clear. Actually, I want to show you this too. So if you hit clear right here, it clears everything in the scene that is Deforce. So if you have 4, 5, 6, 20 items that's Deforce, you don't want to hit clear. You want to actually have this selected. Click on this. Clear simulation data. And it'll just do it for the one object. It won't do it for all of them. All right. So that being said, let's say let's add this back in. Boom. Now when we simulate it, oops, is it touching? No, it's not. When we simulate it, it should fall on the bed. So let's do that now. It should make it look naturally just falling on the bed. Yeah. Now there are some items that you cannot simulate. It depends on if they have seams or not. So I come across some pieces of clothing that just won't simulate because it's no seams. For instance, the bra of the clothing that the women wear, undergarments. Those are not seamed at the straps. So if you try to deforce those, they shoot off in all different directions like a bunch of fireworks. So not everything can be deforced. The majority of things can though. Now look how good that looks. It just looks like it's just plopped right there. But let's say our model is holding this shirt, right? Like holding it up. I probably should have posed for it, but that would have taken too much time, so the hell with it. So let's say she was posing and holding it up, and you don't want it to fall straight to the bed. There's a way to actually modify this as well. So with the item selected, the shirt, let's go over here to create. And we're going to new Deforce modifier weight node. So let's click on that. We'll just go ahead and accept it. You can name it whatever you want. Now it is selected. We have the tool settings right here. So let's click on that. If you don't have that, same exact spot as the last one, go Windows, Panes, and then tools down here. And it will set it up. So let's see. Yep. So we click up here. We go to node weight map brush. We still have this selected. Add map. Deforce simulation influence weight. Bam. And now it's going to turn red and take us into the geometry mode. So with that being said, let's jack up the sensitivity to this. Poof. All right. Now we will, with the Alt and Control. So if I hold down the Alt button, it turns it to a gray and a blue, right? So the gray means no Deforce is going to mess with it. No Deforce at all is going to affect it. Blue means a little bit. Red means full throttle. So let's just go ahead and we're just going to take off the tops just like this, right? And if you hold the Control button, it adds back to it, as you can tell when I'm doing that right there. Or it just adds a little, or you can just click it and it adds a lot. All right, so now I don't have the sleeves done, which is perfect. That's what we want. So let's go back, exit out of that just by clicking whatever. And now let's simulate it and see what happens. Simulate. Now the shirt should stay in position, but it should fall naturally. Look at that. Wow. It took me a while to get better at this. At first, man, it was hectic. It takes a lot of practice to get things how you want it. But once you get the hang of it, you pretty much know roughly what you have to do, and then it's just tweaking. So now this shirt looks a lot better. Look at that. Holding it into place just like she was holding it. That's great. Anyways, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, like I said, hit that thumbs up. Think about subscribing. And until next time, take care.